I was having y'all, your boy Rico from StreetScores, and we have a lot of different things to talk about today, man. First of all, Zach Ertz and Jeremy Chinn prepared to pull a Commanders miracle. Also, Quinn gave a pretty interesting secret strategy to some long-term success. Lattimore potentially getting more targets, according to our defensive coordinator. Also, Jaden Daniels does it again, and Cliff Kingsbury takes blame for the previous Eagles loss. We're going to talk about all of that and more, along with a big-time injury update for everything that happened on Thursday as far as practice goes. And this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And before we get into everything, make sure you stiff on that like button, stiff on the subscription button, and stiff on the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Of course, I will be live streaming this upcoming Eagles game, so make sure you pull up for that. And if we win, we'll have the victory call-in show live stream immediately afterwards, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Let's root for those Commanders to get that dub so we can have the call-in show and all of that type of stuff, man. But without further ado, instead of wasting more of y'all's time, let's go ahead and dive into this video because we already have a lot of different things to talk about. This is almost like a Rico report because we're going to bounce around quite a bit. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so first of all, let's go ahead and dive into the injury report for both the Commanders and the Eagles. The Eagles, just to let you know right now, they look like a pretty healthy team in comparison to us. We have more injury situations than they do, but we also have like a little illness going around. We're going to get to that. But as you can see on the screen right now, on the Commander side, per usual, we have a bunch of injuries, and I think JP Finley brings up a good point. As good as the Ertz and Jeremy Chinn and even Jonathan Allen news is, the Bates and Cosby news is also just as concerning. Some illness going around that locker room right now, and I would agree, because remember, Tyler Biadasz was good to go all week in practice last week. Then suddenly Sunday morning, he's so sick from a mystery illness that he can't even play in that game. Like, out of nowhere, it was so bad that he still couldn't go out there and ignore it to play against the Saints. And then now, out of nowhere, you have John Bates and Samuel Cosmi both dealing with the same injury as well. I don't exactly know what's going on, but we got to figure out what's going on with that illness right there, and we got to overcome that, because now is not the time, especially that upcoming game against the Falcons. The Eagles, you would love to win that game. That would be great, but the Falcons game is by far the most must-win game we have remaining on the schedule. You beat them, you're pretty much in the playoffs. That's pretty much how it works. But out of the way, again, I guess we can start with the negatives. John Bates and Samuel Cosmi dealing with illnesses, and then Dante Fowler. But I mean, it's just because of rest that's why he didn't practice. And then we have like a long list of names that are limited. Now, the Jonathan Allen one is good news. The Jeremy Chinn one is great news. Michael Dieter being limited, though, is interesting, even though we hope he doesn't even have to step on the field for us ever again. Hopefully, Tyler Biadasz is good to go. And the fact that Tyler Biadasz isn't even on the injury report lets you know that he's fully good to go. We're going to talk about him soon because he even had an interview after practice yesterday, as in Thursday, December 19th, where he even talked about his illness and said if he'll be ready to play. But either way, Zach Ertz limited, that's good news. But Cleveland Farrell limited, not necessarily good news. Luke McCaffrey limited, not necessarily good news. And Deron Payne limited, also not necessarily good news. You know what I'm saying? Limiteds aren't all treated equally. They don't all mean the same exact thing. Jonathan Allen limited, Jeremy Chinn limited, and Zach Ertz limited is different from Luke McCaffrey and Deron Payne limited. Some of these guys, limited means the trajectory is going upwards. Some of these guys, them being limited means their trajectory is going downward as far as their health. And then Zane Gonzalez didn't participate in Wednesday's practice, but he was a full participant on Thursday. So I guess now we'll be moving from our backup kicker to our sixth kicker of the season since March. Instead of being on our seventh, we're going to be on our sixth finally. But just real quick, to just round it back to the good news, I mean, Jeremy Chinn and Zach Ertz potentially playing in this game is nothing short of a miracle. Like I've already told y'all in several videos, man, especially this week, whenever Commanders players suffer a concussion, and it's like confirmed, they were in a concussion, they are now in concussion protocol and things like that. They were out there for the remainder of the game that they suffered the concussion in. The very following game, they have not played all season. Everybody that's got a concussion has missed the very next game. We've had offensive linemen, we've had Austin Eckler, all sorts of people suffer concussions, and neither of them have played the following week. Somehow Jeremy Chinn and Zach Ertz are limited. They're breaking the pattern that I talked about in my previous video, well, 2 videos ago before the Trey Hendrickson video, where they're breaking a pattern, because typically they don't participate in practice at all throughout the week. Usually it's just DNPs. Suddenly Jeremy Chinn and Zach Ertz are limited in practice, which is really interesting. That's already a pattern broken right there. Let's see if they can just go for a full break and actually end up playing against the Eagles. We need them big time, especially a guy like, both of them. Jeremy Chinn was fantastic against the Eagles last time, and we still didn't even beat them. We definitely need him. And Zach Ertz is still Jaden Daniels' safety blanket. That one-handed catch first down that he ended up getting injured on was an amazing play. We're going to need every bit of that to beat the Eagles. So it's good news that those guys are limited. It's still not like a 100% they definitely will play. That's why I put a question mark in the title. Are they about to pull off a miracle? To some other teams, maybe this isn't a miracle. Like I keep referencing the Giants. Remember Tyrone Tracy, their rookie running back, suffered a concussion Monday, and then 6 days later played on Sunday against us. And that was very questionable. I'm very happy that our franchise errs on the side of caution. I don't know if Zach Ertz and Jeremy Chinn's situations just aren't as bad as the previous concussions that this team has had so far this season, or is it just like a playoff push where they're like, man, typically we would sit you out next game, but we really need these wins. I don't know exactly what's going on with the Commanders, but this is a really interesting situation. And then also positive injury news as far as the limiteds go. Jonathan Allen, man. Opened up the 21-day practice window. John Com said he should be able to play more than likely at least by the Falcons game next week. May not necessarily play against the Eagles, but it also has not been definitively ruled out just yet. But they opened up his 21-day practice window a couple of days ago. Stay tuned for Jonathan Allen returning before the end of this regular season and definitely being ready for the postseason. Exciting stuff, man. So overall, this information that this injury report is generally positive. The only real negative, honestly, like the only people that's like, whoa, what's going on here are Luke McCaffrey and Deron Payne, both limited. But then again, Deron Payne was limited last week. Luke McCaffrey is the only one where it's like, okay, where did this shoulder injury come from? What is happening here? Everybody else, and I guess you could throw Michael Dieter in there, but then again, we don't exactly expect Michael Dieter to play. And Luke McCaffrey, even when he's out on the field, we don't typically throw him the ball anyway. Now moving on to Tyler Biadasz, he seems to be back. Dan Quinn even said way earlier in the week that you should expect Tyler Biadasz to be back, and then he hasn't even been on the injury report. That's as full as you can go. Like, there's a lot of people on injury reports that are typically, they're even full on the injury report. This guy isn't even on the injury report at all, so you know he's good to go against the upcoming game we have against the Eagles. But he apparently had a fever at 102.6 degrees, and that is absolutely insane, but apparently it is gone now. And Scott Abraham even asked him about his availability for Sunday's game against the Eagles, and with a big smile, Tyler Biadasz said, quote, I'm playing, you can't get me out of this game, unquote. And I love that mentality, and I'm also happy that he's just healthy. Also, Cliff Kingsbury said in his press conference after practice, technically yesterday, as in Thursday, December 19th, I'm recording this at 2:40 a.m. Kingsbury said that Zach Ertz is a safety net for the quarterback, such a vital part of the offense. And Cliff Kingsbury also had a few more interesting quotes from his press conference, along with Joe Wood Jr. We're going to get to that to the second half of the video. Some really interesting things that they both said. We're definitely going to get into that. But before we move on, also on the Philadelphia Eagles side, like so far, A.J. Brown, the best he's done so far this week in practice is limited. Same thing with safety Sidney Brown. Same thing with guard Landon Dickerson. Bryce Huff been limited all week. But then you have Britton Covey, who's been good to go. Jalen Hurts seems like he's good to go with a left finger injury. And then Devonta Smith, he just had rest on Wednesday. He's good to go Thursday. So for the most part, I'm expecting the Eagles to have their full arsenal of players when they go up against us. That's the only reason I'm letting you know this now. We're banged up. The Eagles don't seem to be banged up much at all. And then also in other injury news, like I already told, we looked at the injury report. Zane Gonzalez is also back in practice, so that's big time. Also, Joe Wood Jr. said in his press conference, again, we're going to dive into a lot of the interesting things he said in the second half of this video, but while we're still talking about injuries, Joe Wood Jr. said that he's been real impressed with Jonathan Allen and hopes that he can help us in the near future. What you mean by near future? How near are we talking? We're talking about the Eagles this Sunday? Or are we still talking about the Falcons like John Com said? Let me know. Also still talking about Jonathan Allen. He said, quote, I just want to see how he moves and not get too excited about getting them back in, but it's a positive start, unquote. And then that's pretty much it for the injury situation. Let's go ahead and quickly move on to the whole Dan Quinn strategy. this is really interesting. It's like his little secret strategy. Now, granted, with him telling everybody, even the fact that I know that I could even tell y'all, it's not that much of a strategy, but I thought it was really interesting. I love the fact that we do this, and I'm hoping other teams do this, but probably most other teams don't do this. I don't ever remember hearing Ron Rivera, Jay Gruden saying that we were doing these type of things, so I'm happy to hear that Dan Quinn said this. So, he talked about preparing the team for what happens when starters get hurt. How do we adjust? How do we adapt? Well, his mentality is we should be prepared for that before it even happens. Dan Quinn said that sometimes in practice, they'll remove a key starter like linebacker Bobby Wagner or safety Jeremy Chinn, etc. during situational work, so teammates have to get used to the adversity during a game. I absolutely love that. I love that mentality. Love the fact that we even have that going on. Again, I don't remember Rivera or Jay Gruden ever saying anything like that. I feel like all 32 NFL teams should be doing that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like and just assume that Ron Rivera and Jay Gruden were not doing those things, but we can confirm via Dan Quinn himself that we are doing those things. We are prepared for even if a starter goes down, the backups have plenty of experience, and not only just in general, but he even said like situational football things like red zone defense, red zone offense, stuff like that. Third and long, third and short, fourth and short, goal line, all kinds of situations, 2-minute warning, last 4 minutes of the game with the lead. They're putting these guys in all sorts of situations, even the backups, the rotational pieces, the guy off the bench, just to make sure that if a starter is hurt, they're not just sitting out there like a deer in headlights, looking like the Mr. Crab memes with his head swirling and everything in the room. So that's a good thing to do as a team. And now before we move on to the second half of this video, y'all already know, man, this show is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, and if you're looking for a new sportsbook, it should be BetUS for sure, man. First of all, they have the fastest payouts in the industry, and I know y'all want y'all money fast because I know I do. And right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's YOUTUBE150. And they also have a fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process, so it's really like, why not, in my opinion? And so let's dive into some bets that we can get into directly through their website. Well, if you wanted to bet on the highest scoring team on Sunday specifically, we're not talking about the Thursday night game that already happened, I'm recording this after that, or even the Monday night game that will happen later. We're talking about Sunday specifically, only the teams that will play on Sunday. If you wanted to bet on which team is the highest scoring team, you can see the odds on your screen right now. If you want to go on a limb and predict that the Washington Commanders will be the team that scores the most points, even though odds favorite right now are the Buffalo Bills first, then the Bengals, then the Lions, then the Buccaneers, then the Cardinals, and the Rams right there tied with the Cardinals. But if you wanted to go with the Commanders at plus 3,000 odds, you can simply just put down $25 and end up winning $750 by Sunday night. It's a pretty far reach, and this is why I always scream at y'all to please gamble responsibly. But if you have that much faith in your Washington Commanders, like a ridiculous amount of faith in your Washington Commanders, that's how you can put down $25 and end up winning $750 back. If the Commanders go out there and put a hurting on them Eagles and end up scoring more points than any other team on Sunday, out of all the teams that play on Sunday, you can end up making some serious money there. But again, I'm going to keep screaming at y'all to please gamble responsibly. And again, before we move on, just want to remind y'all that BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits for up to $2,000 with code YOUTUBE150. And again, please gamble responsibly, man. And without further ado, let's get ahead and get to the second half of this video, man. All right, so first up, before we get into like what Junior and Cliff Kingsbury said after practice on Thursday, December 19th, because again, they have some very interesting quotes that I promise you you're going to want to stick around for. But just real quick, just to let you know, Jaden Daniels won Offensive Rookie of the Week from Pepsi again. You know, I'm from Atlanta, so everything we do is Coca-Cola down here. But shouts out Pepsi for constantly giving Jaden Daniels these awards, even though it's the fans that vote for him. But still, shouts out to Pepsi for sponsoring that and doing our boy Jaden Daniels right. So that means now he's won for week 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 13, and 15. We still have 3 more games to go for him to potentially rack up and win more. Just to let you know, Jaden Daniels has now won 9 Rookie of the Week awards. That's tying Justin Herbert and Ben Roethlisberger for the most awards since 2002. I think Jaden Daniels can go beyond that. We have 3 more games. I think he can get more. And, you know, I didn't want to spend too much time. We've already talked about him winning Offensive Rookie of the Weeks, and I'm already working on a stats video for the Commanders Kings YouTube channel. Make sure you go subscribe to that. Follow it, you know, hit the bell next to the subscription button, like it. Check out our live stream. We live stream every Tuesday night, even though this upcoming week, since, you know, Tuesday night is Christmas Eve, we're more than likely going to live stream Monday night, so be on the lookout for that. But either way, go pull up to that channel. I will have a big breakdown of like a bunch of different stats, especially Jaden Daniels stats and a lot of the records that he's breaking right now, especially for rookies, but even NFL history, ignoring rookies, he's breaking a lot of records. I didn't want to dive into that in this video because I'm already going to do a lot of that in that video, just to let you know. So we're going to go ahead and move on. Now moving on to Joe Witt Jr., we're going to talk about what he said first, and then we're going to talk about Cliff Kingsbury after that. Joe Witt Jr. addressed the media after practice, and he said he never wants to complain about a win, but he did say that it should not have come down to a 2-point conversion. Several opportunities the defense definitely missed on, and he's taking a lot of the blame for that. But he really, really is upset about how that game ended. Again, you never want to be upset about a win, but you don't have to worry about Joe Witt Jr. taking it to heart how that game ended. Also, Joe Witt Jr. talked about Lattimore. This is one of the more interesting things we're going to talk about in this video. Listen to this. He said, quote, played really, really well, unquote, against the Saints. No targets, of course, but he said the quarterbacks looked Lattimore's way only twice. So they reviewed the film. There were only 2 times they looked at him. Remember, he was never targeted, never thrown towards, but Joe Witt Jr. says, according to the film, after they went and looked at it back, that Lattimore was looked at twice, but the quarterbacks never threw it. Also, on top of that, he wants to let you know that that is a team that knows what Lattimore can do. They know him very well from his time with the Saints since he's been drafted into the NFL from Ohio State. And Joe Witt Jr. even said that he doesn't expect future teams to shy away from him like the Saints did. That's actually pretty interesting news. Now, of course, I kind of assumed this, but that's still crazy because you got to remember, Lattimore played 53 snaps against the New Orleans Saints, right? That was the most out of all of our cornerbacks. Like, I believe Mike Sanderson played 50. I believe we played like 56 defensive snaps in total. Lattimore was in for 53 of them. Mike Sanderson was in for 50. I think Noah Benogany played like 30 something, and then you had Benjamin St. Juste who only played 3 and somehow still found a way to get a pass interference in only one of the 3 snaps he was in there. But either way, Lattimore was out there a lot, even more than every other corner we have on this team, even in just his first game of playing for us. And again, never targeted once, not once, only looked at twice. That's really interesting. And I already highly doubted that he would just go another entire game without ever being targeted. But Joe Witt Jr. seems to be thinking that that really only happened against the New Orleans Saints because they know him so well. I mean, it was a mix of, yeah, they respect him a lot just based off of his talent in film, but also they just know that Lattimore is looking for that. And then again, I believe the last time that the Eagles played the Saints, Lattimore got a pick 6 on him. So they better know him real well too. Like, I know the Saints knew him real well. They practiced against him all the time. But hey, the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, hey man, that's a guy that got a pick 6 on you, I believe, the most recent time that they played. So you better watch out for that. Also, Joe Witt Jr. said that Lattimore had a good command of the system already and led the effort and communication. He's only been here for a few weeks now, basically. He wasn't here at the beginning of the season during the off-season training camp and things like that. He got here right up at the trade deadline, and he's already leading the effort and communication. That's big-time stuff. He's not just a very talented player. He's a hard-working player with great work ethic as well, and I feel like that reflects very highly of him, and we should be very excited about his future with the Washington Commanders, and we should be very happy that we still have him on contract 2 years after this season ends. Also, Joe Witt Jr. said that he's pleased with the direction that the defense is going overall, but they must get more turnovers and have to fix the fourth quarter points. He said that that falls on him to fix that. And I agree somewhat, but I also feel like he's just doing a good job of taking a lot of the blame for his players and not throwing them under the bus, because I feel like a lot of it is just execution. I feel like strategy is some of it, but I just also feel like a lot of it is execution, in my personal opinion. Also, the defensive players getting tired because the offense can't stay onto the field. I feel like the offense deserves a lot of blame, especially from the last Eagles game. Our defense was playing playing at an elite level. Now, you could argue the first 3.5 quarters against the Eagles was the best 3.5 quarters this defense has played all season. But after a while, you get tired. Even the 85 Bears and 2000 Ravens, when they get tired, are not going to play at a legendary, at an elite level. It's just impossible. You're worn down. You've been on the field all game. The offense just would not allow us to have any sort of time of possession. That was arguably the worst 3.5 quarters that we've seen from our offense all season. They just happened to just choose the worst game to have their worst day, because that was arguably the best day that our defense has had. So again, Joe Wood Jr. is right. Our defense is getting better and better, but we're not to the point where we're getting all of those turnovers like they used to for the Dallas Cowboys, where he and Dan Quinn, together as defensive coordinator and defensive passing game coordinator for the past 3 years, have led the NFL in takeaways. They haven't necessarily been doing that here yet, even though we're starting to cook it up. You know, Mike Sanders still got his second pick of the season, of his rookie season. So far, he got one against the Ravens, then he got one just this past Sunday against the Saints. We're getting there. Jeremy Chinn should have had one, but instead it ended up being like a big throw to Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but he was right there. I guess he lost track of the ball. I don't know what's going on. They're getting there, though. The defense is getting better, but we got to start to create more turnovers. I completely agree. That's why we brought Dan Quinn and Joe Wood Jr. here. Also, Joe Wood Jr. said that the Eagles are the hottest team in the league and they need to play a full 60-minute game. Yes, please. Thank you for having that mentality. I feel like that's pretty obvious, but the fact that he said it out loud lets me know that he's preaching that to the team. We really need that next time. But again, I blame the offense more so for that, because the defense is on the field way too much as is. And then also, lastly, Joe Wood Jr. said, quote, "My job is not to tell them what to do, it's to make sure they get it done," unquote. I love that quote, man. I really do. Now, moving on to Cliff Kingsbury before we get up out of here. Cliff Kingsbury talked about the Eagles rematch. He said, quote, "The first time we played them on a short week, I had way too much in and I felt like we played tentative. I didn't call a very good game. Now, to have a full week's process, try to make the proper adjustments and see how far we've come since then," unquote. So it sounds like Cliff Kingsbury is taking a lot of the blame for how bad the offense was against the Eagles, arguably the worst 3.5 quarters at least, but you could argue entire game, 4 quarters, that this offense has played all season. And I like the fact that he is taking a lot of the blame. I mean, I feel like he can take some of it. I feel like this is another example of the coach stepping in the line of fire for his players. That's what coaches are supposed to do. But I feel like a lot of that was execution as well. I feel like it was a healthy blend of both, but he's mostly blaming it on the fact that he tried to cram too much information, add too many things into the offense, made it too complicated for that upcoming game. The fact that we went from playing Sunday to playing the Eagles on Thursday. Now we have a full Sunday to Sunday week, and he feels like they'll have enough time to get everything together that they need to. And I'm not expecting this offense to look as bad as it did against the Eagles last time, this time. I just really am not. I just refuse to believe our offense would be that bad twice in a row. I know they got some Georgia Bulldogs over there, but I still feel like our offense is going to figure them out this time around. Again, like I said in the Commanders Kings YouTube live stream Tuesday night, hey man, I got a feeling, man. I feel pretty confident going into this game. Also, Commanders defensive coordinator Kingsbury agreed that Jaden Daniels looks refreshed after the bye. He said, quote, "To catch your breath week 14 and come back, you can tell he's feeling better, and hopefully that helps down the stretch," unquote. And I'm not sure if he's talking mentally or maybe even physically with that whole rib injury thing. I know we haven't talked about it in a while, and because Jaden Daniels has been balling out, and it seems like maybe he's fully healed from it. But Cliff Kingsbury is saying that, yeah, Jaden Daniels needed that bye week, and he definitely looks like a different guy after the bye week, and that should be good for us down the stretch. Cliff Kingsbury also had some interesting and funny things to say in his press conference after practice yesterday, Thursday, December 19th. He joked that he's talked to the coaching staff about moving rookie cornerback Mike Sanders to wide receiver with all of the injuries that they have right now. Because you got to remember, he did play wide receiver at Michigan for his first couple of years, then he switched to corner his last 2 years, and it's amazing how great he is at outside corner already. Think about this. He was a wide receiver and returner for his first 2 years at Michigan. His last 2 years at Michigan, he's a slot corner. His first couple of weeks at the NFL level, he's a slot corner. Now suddenly he's at outside corner. So within just like a 3-year span, he's gone from wide receiver to slot corner to outside corner at the NFL level. It's amazing what he's doing right now. I feel like he deserves a lot of credit for that. But shouts out to Cliff Kingsbury for even remembering and bringing up the fact that, hey, Mike Sanders still actually has some receiver potential there. That's probably why he's good at catching interceptions compared to a lot of our other DBs that just, typically a DB makes the decision to go to defensive back because they can't catch. You know, typically guys that can't catch are just like, yeah, I'll just stay at receiver. Why not? I'm good at this. A lot of DBs end up being DBs simply because, like, literally only because they realize, man, I can't catch and I want to play football. I'm this size, I'm this height, I'm this fast, I'm this quick. I guess I better figure out how to be a defensive back. You know what I'm saying? To make it to the NFL and things like that. Whereas Mike Sainristil, I'm not exactly sure what happened in Michigan. I've never gone back to look at his wide receiver tape to see if it was horrible or anything, but he got some hands on him. Also, Cliff Kingsbury said that he noticed that the clock stoppage versus New Orleans happened immediately. Like, he noticed it as soon as it happened. He said, quote, I lived down there for a year, so I know all of that voodoo S word. I thought, here we go again. So I was actually shocked that we won the game, unquote. I thought that was hilarious as well. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for pulling up and supporting every video. Again, if you made it this far in the video, I salute you. Really appreciate you. And also make sure you leave a like on the way out. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Of course, all of the injury situation stuff. How do you feel about Dan Quinn's strategy for preparing just in case starters get injured? Let me know how you feel about all of Joe Witt Jr.'s quotes, especially about Marshawn Lattimore and the fact that he's predicting that other teams will not shy away from throwing the ball to Marshawn Lattimore. How do you feel about the potential of Marshawn Lattimore finally getting challenged against the Philadelphia Eagles? How do you feel about that? Also, let me know how you feel about all the Cliff Kingsbury's quotes as well. Let me know how you feel about everything in this video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my points. Again, leave a like on the way out. Really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Oh, and before we go, remember that this video was sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And always remember to please gamble responsibly. Catch y'all later. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.